These are good books, fellow TIs, to check out. Our enemies seek to label us as grievance-based threats, legal threats. And what they're doing is they're erroneously labeling Christians, conservatives, even cops and sheriffs tied to patriot groups as terrorism threats, extremists. And they're even utilizing members of Kwanzas, hospitals, offices of community engagement groups at universities. Some of these operations are massive. Some of these surveillance teams may consist of over 50 people to target just one person. I have documents from the government that talk about this. It's shocking. So this hostile surveillance is occurring to Americans all across this nation. Here's an old article. There's many other ones similar to this one. The surveillance included harassment tactics undertaken by local law enforcement who were cooperating with the CIA. And computer losses. Anytime this guy bought a device, it was hacked. And I left Florida in 2014 after losing 45 computers, and the group that confronted me had the CIA logo. I'm not going to talk about it. It's a very long story. But the FBI refused to help, and when I lived in Albuquerque, I had 6 computers gone in 7 weeks. The FBI still refused to help and to look at any footage I had showing people wearing rabbi clothing, little hats, groups of women. It was absolutely insane. So there are phases to this targeting. And what these people do is they pretty much plan attacks on our life. If you go to a place and you ever notice there's like 20 white cars coming in, they all have no tag or they're all white, same model, those are signs. You can't trust, sadly, anyone tied to law enforcement, even though most cops are good. See, there are government documents concerning interagency cooperation. So cops are supposed to support the federal government in its investigations, and they're supposed to back away from any investigation. So they try to say this is an investigation. Now, I mentioned in 1996 I was accused of the murder of a U.S. Air Force pilot. I cooperated, let them search my house, passed a polygraph test. They told me if I failed, I would be charged with murder. And I passed it 18 times. So if you're a target and they're trying to say you're a criminal, you're this, you're that, they may have it where you're placed under this case management or a cold case investigation. And that information could be shared with local cops, and anyone that comes your way to try to befriend you is most likely trying just to get information out of you because there's a bounty on you. So I'm a targeted individual which doesn't deal with scumbags. I don't like hanging out in bars, trashy places. I don't like to be out late at night. I'm more of a homebody. I like to stay at home, be out in nature. I don't mind playing tennis, fishing, boating. I'm not interested in hanging out with dudes, talking trash or talking about war stories. But when it comes as far as gang stalking, I feel like it's imperative that we targets do share what we're going through, because if a lot of us are sharing the same exact things, the probability of an event makes it mathematically impossible for 5 or 6 people to experience this within 50-mile radius. It just defies the probability of an event. So what these people do is they try to attack the target, and they try to set the target up. And there are cases where these people do sneaking peeks. They may tamper with your computer, so you may want to utilize some type of encryption like TrueCrypt, something open source. Some of these programs can be hacked by the feds, but it can't hurt. Because if you have any videos with proof concerning this activity, they may try to hack your computers. So one thing you may want to do is, if you ever plug your cell phone up to your computer to extract video evidence, put your cell phone on airplane mode when you do that. Because I've had it where a virus gets transferred from my cell phone to my computer, and it doesn't matter if I have the phone for one day and just got it the same day. And then it'll start acting the same way. The same problems I'm having with my cell phone will be seen on my computer. So while I'm talking, I'm just going through this. So if you want to pause it or look at anything. So it's pretty much all I wanted to share. Can't really think of nothing else. I could talk a long time about targeting because I'm someone which has been in this for a long time. And I have videos where I'm eating at a restaurant being harassed. And then when I leave, the same person follows me a quarter of a mile. And when my car's parked right there in the parking lot. And I'll deliberately walk a quarter of a mile. And then when I come to a complete stop, that same person comes to a complete stop next to me and walks back to the same exact place where my car is at. And I have videos where it shows week after week. I have tag numbers. I have VIN numbers. I used to block cars in and say, look, I'm calling the cops. I think what you're doing is illegal. And you've done it for the second week in a row. So I would get VIN numbers, and they wouldn't do nothing. They wouldn't even call cops. I would never threaten them. I would get their tag number and VIN. Look, I fear for my safety. What you're doing is illegal. You're violating my constitutional rights. And when those people seen that I stood up for myself and that I was nonviolent, I was respectful, but at the same time I was making sure they wouldn't get away with this, they would just be quiet, and then I would get my evidence and I would drive off and leave. But about 95% of the time, I wouldn't do that. Most time, I just walk away. But when I dealt with the ones that will confront me and pretend like they have a gun, that they would put their arm behind their back as if they were going to grab a gun and shoot me, it was a scare tactic. And with those, I stood up for myself and was like, hey, you're threatening my safety. You're causing me to be in fear of my life. And when I realized they weren't going to shoot me and it was a scare tactic, that's when I got their VIN, I bought their car in, got their VIN and tag, and I would do it really quick. I had a scanner, and I would do it like in a few seconds, really, really quick. And they wouldn't even follow me because they knew that they were in the wrong, and that if I went to police, chances are they could have been charged with stalking. So I didn't go to the police and get them arrested. And I would even tell them, look, I'm not here to fight with you or argue with you. I'm unarmed and I'm non-combative. I just want to document your information. So if I deal with you again, or if I hear about this activity in this area, I know who's behind it, and I know that I need to go to law enforcement. So you won't do this to other families. So it's really no different than what a lot of decent patriots would do. Let's say right now you got a guy, this happened in my neighborhood. A guy was driving a Lamborghini and he would come to a stop at my house and he drove around like at 85 miles an hour. The speed limit here is like 15 miles an hour, I believe. If someone's driving 85 miles an hour in circles around your house and you see kids running around and families in the streets pushing baby strollers, wouldn't you get out and say, hey man, stop? You're going to hurt somebody. You're going to get somebody killed. Wouldn't you stand up for those kids in your neighborhood knowing that the guy's driving like a nut, that he's going to get someone hurt? So I don't feel like I was in the wrong at all. But about 95% of the time, fellow TIs, when these people harass me, I don't even get their tags or VINs no more. That was just in Texas. Here, I get tags, but I do it discreetly, and I have car dash cams in my car, some which you can't see. You can just see the one in the front and the back. That's it. So I don't disrespect people. I don't violate people's privacy. I don't break any laws. And I hope you don't either, because if you are, then you're going to be watched. But if you're not doing anything illegal, you got nothing to worry about. Just keep ignoring these punks that are doing this to us.